Welcome back to Simple Spoonfuls, where I make simple seasonal recipes. Do you love artichokes, but you have no idea where to start when it comes to actually prepping and cooking them? I've got you covered. Artichokes are one of my favorite seasonal spring vegetables because they make for such a beautiful presentation. They have a delicate flavor, but they really make you work for the good stuff. So today I'm going to show you how to shop for them, prep them, cook them. We're going to end up making some grilled artichoke halves with the lemon garlic aioli for dipping sauce. It's going to be amazing. Let's get cooking. So when you're shopping for artichokes, one of my favorite tests to see if it's fresh is something called the squeak test. You should be able to give it a little squeeze and hear it squeak from the leaves. This guy's fresh. If you notice any like dark discoloration spots, that's not a problem. That's just something that happens naturally during the growing process when there's cold snaps during the spring season. So next time you're shopping for them, give them a little squeak, and that's how you know which ones you want to get. Okay, before we do any actual cooking, we've got a lot of preparation to do first. This is usually the thing that stops people in their tracks before they even get started with artichoke hearts, because they're just like, where do I even begin? It's kind of a lot of steps, but after you do the first one or two, you'll get in the hang of it, and then you'll realize it's really not that hard at all. It just takes a little bit of time. I like to keep a garbage bowl close by because we're gonna have a lot of waste. And then I use a chef's knife, a paring knife, some kitchen shears are super helpful, and then even a vegetable peeler is nice to have on hand. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off about the top third, because that's gonna get rid of all the extra leaves and also give us access to some of the lower ones that we need to trim off as well. Okay, there you have it. We got to the inside. So because of the chemicals inside the artichoke, once you cut them, they start to turn brown really quickly, kind of like an oxidation. So one of the things you can do to combat this is to take half of a lemon and just rub it all over the surface of any place where you've made any cuts. And that's gonna kind of help prevent some of the browning. And then we're also gonna take this same lemon and we're gonna go ahead and plop this into the water that we're gonna use for our steaming. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of break off about the lower 3 or 4 rows of leaves. If you pull down, they should just snap off. You just kind of use a downward pulling motion. You'll notice the leaves start to get more like tightly packed, and that's how you know you're probably getting to the part where you can stop ripping them off. And then the other thing we want to do is kind of trim the stem. This is where a vegetable peeler can be really helpful if you have a nice sharp one, or yeah, see, mine's not going to cut it. These stems are so woody that a lot of times a paring knife is going to be the best tool for this. So we're just going to kind of trim back this bottom piece here, and then that's going to give us better access to the stem, so we can just get that tough exterior layer off of there. Once you get that first tough layer off, then you should be able to use your veggie peeler to kind of smooth it out from there. Yeah, that works much better now. And then the other thing I like to do is cut off the bottom inch to get tougher the further down you go, whereas up closer to the heart, it'll be more and more tender. So we want to keep that. Okay, here's a good example of one where we cut the top third off, but there's still these lower leaves that have their little pokey bits on them, and we don't want to eat those. Only the bottom half of each leaf is edible, so that's why we're going to go around and we'll just use our scissors to cut this lower layer, and we're going to cut the top half off of it. This would be really hard to do with the knife, and so that's where the scissors come in handy. So our artichokes are all prepped. What we're gonna go ahead and do is we can't just pop them right on the grill and expect them to cook all the way through. So we need to par cook them first. And what we're gonna do is pop them into a steamer basket, and we're gonna let them sit for about 20 minutes or so, and that's really gonna soften things up. It's also gonna make it a lot easier to cut these in half, and then we're gonna remove the inedible interior called the choke, and that's a lot easier to scoop out after it's already softened up. So we're gonna go ahead and get these in the steamer, and then after that, we can finally put them on the grill. Okay, my artichokes are done steaming, and the way I checked that was by inserting a paring knife into the base of where the stem meets the artichoke. And then that way I could tell, as long as it was inserted and came out clean without a lot of resistance, that means they're ready to go. In the meantime, once they're cooled down enough that you can handle them easily, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut them in half. And then once they're cut in half, you can see there's kind of this fuzzy little interior. This is called the choke, and what we want to do is take a spoon, scoop out those fuzzy leaves in that inner part, because that's not edible. You might have to use a paring knife to get it started, but this is what we want to go ahead and remove, this fuzzy stuff. So I'm just using a knife. Here, I'll use the paring knife to kind of go along the bottom of the choke. That'll kind of loosen it up. If there's like little purple leaves on the inside, we'll go ahead and take those out as well. And then you can use your spoon to just kind of scoop those out. So alongside our grilled artichokes, we're gonna serve it with a delicious charred lemon garlic aioli. And in order to do that, we need to go ahead and char our lemons on the grill. Our artichokes are finally ready to put them on the grill. We've steamed them, cleaned out the choke, and now it's time to get them on the hot grill. We're gonna go ahead and place them halved side down. And they're gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes or so. If you notice that you try to remove them from the grill and they're kind of sticking and not releasing, that means they're probably not ready yet. And the same thing goes for your chicken or your steak. If you try to move it too soon, it's just gonna tear the flesh off. So that's usually an indicator that just let it sit for another minute or two, try it again, and it should be good to go at that point. And they should be ready in just a second. All right, so these artichokes have some nice grill marks on them. It's gonna give them a great little hint of smoky flavor and also add some visual appeal. They're gonna be absolutely beautiful. Oops, almost lost it. These are so stunning. We haven't even put them on a platter yet. But one thing I like to do if I'm gonna serve these for a party or for guests is I'll go ahead and do the prepping and steaming the day before. And then all I have to do the day of is just pop them on the grill for 5 minutes, which is super easy. And you can also make the aioli ahead of time as well. Alrighty, it is finally time to make our charred lemon aioli. We're gonna start with 1 egg. It's really important that it's room temperature. Otherwise this isn't gonna emulsify as well as it should. So we're just gonna get that ready. And then about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. Mine are kind of on the small side, so I'm using 3 to 4-ish. You know, it depends on how much you like garlic. I'm just gonna use a garlic press because I'm not gonna rely on my blender to actually mince the garlic up for me. It's not like a food processor. Go ahead and add your egg. And then remember those charred lemons? We're gonna juice one of those. You need about teaspoon, 1 to 2 teaspoons, I would say. You can just eyeball it. You can always add more later if you're not getting enough of that strong lemon flavor. And a pinch of salt. So I'm gonna turn on the blender, let this run for about 30 seconds to really whip up the egg, and then we're gonna slowly start to stream in our olive oil. Alrighty, this was blending for 30 seconds, so now I'm gonna start it again, and while I do that, I'm gonna slowly drizzle in the olive oil. It's helpful to have a measuring cup that has a little pour spout on it, and then that way you can get a really small stream of the oil coming out so that it doesn't pour out too much at once and then you break the sauce. It's gonna seem like nothing's happening, but it's not until you get to the last 1 to 2 tablespoons of adding the oil that things really start to thicken up. So stick with it, just keep on with that slow drizzle. It might take 2 minutes or so, just to warn you. Look at that, thick, creamy goodness. This is gonna be perfect for dipping. One of the most common questions I get about artichokes is which parts are edible? What can you eat out of it? So when it comes to the leaves, the top part is really fibrous. You don't get any meat in there. So you're just gonna pull a leaf off. Should release really easily. And it's really just the meat that's that little white part on the inside, about 1/3 of the leaf or so. So you can dip that into your aioli. And then what you're gonna do is use your teeth to kind of scrape the meat out. So you're kind of gonna go and pull it out, and then that's gonna leave you with the meat. You can also eat the hearts, which are down in here. This is the part that you're used to getting. And that interior part of the stem is also incredibly tender and bonus edible as well. So there you have it, our grilled artichokes with charred lemon garlic aioli. I hope this video taught you something new and leaves you feeling empowered and inspired to try cooking artichokes in your own kitchen. Full recipe is in the description below, and as always, keep cooking.